Guys, welcome to the I Love CVille Show. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us. We are live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world, right here on the I Love CVille Network. We absolutely love connecting with you guys through this platform where every day we find, curate, analyze, and deliver and communicate in approachable fashion content and storylines and trends that we find compelling. And today's show undoubtedly embodies those qualities. We will lead the program with an article that was published in the New York Times today about censorship at the University of Virginia. It was written, this article, by frankly, it's an op-ed piece, it's an opinion piece. It was written by a fourth-year student at UVA. She's a columnist at the University of Virginia for the Cavalier Daily. It is compelling, thought-provoking, an engaging read, and something we will lead today's show with in a matter of moments. We will also talk on today's program about the impact of gasoline, now over $4 in Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and in Central Virginia, and certainly looking like it's heading over $5 in Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and Central Virginia as early as potentially this week. Oil was at a 13-year high over the weekend. It is having a disruptive impact, a volatile impact on markets, global markets, domestic markets. Your 401k, your stock portfolio, to say it's been in a bumpy ride is an understatement. To say it's hemorrhaging or bleeding red over the last 65, 70 days is accurate and factual. We're going to talk oil and $5 a gallon gas and the impact it has on the community we love so dearly. I want to relay another concerning trend to you, and it's a trend highlighted by Neil Williamson and the Free Enterprise Forum over the weekend. In a 30-day period of time, rents in Charlottesville, Virginia have upticked 1.1%. You heard me correctly. A 30-day period of time, according to apartmentlist.com, Charlottesville rents have increased 1.1%, a direct reflection of supply and demand issues. Lastly, on today's program, I'm going to champion, highlight, and showcase an amazing family experience. UVA Baseball and Brian O'Connor have one of the hottest tickets in town. Davenport Field and the Dish were popping on Saturday on a glorious day to be above the mud. Welcome to the program. My name is Jerry Miller, and this is the I Love CVille Show on a gorgeous Monday, presented by Skooma Boutique Dispensary, the best dispensary in Charlottesville, Skooma Boutique Dispensary on the downtown mall located next to Rapture Restaurant, Skooma Boutique Dispensary. I'm going to ask all of you watching today's program to contribute with the discussion and into the discussion by offering your thoughts and perspective in the comment section on any of the Facebook pages, Twitter pages, or any of the social media accounts you're watching the show upon. We are live across all social channels. Boys and girls, the lead of the show is undoubtedly the article that's in the New York Times today. This article, an op-ed piece penned by Emma Camp, a fourth year at the University of Virginia. The New York Times, the world's newspaper. Here's the headline. Once I read the headline, I will highlight a couple of portions of this op-ed, excerpts if you may, and then offer you my take and thoughts and get Judah Wickhauer, our director's take and thoughts on censorship at the collegiate level. Here's the headline. I came to college eager to debate. I found self-censorship instead. The author, a fourth year named Emma Camp, writes a very compelling piece. Instead of reading it all, I will highlight a couple portions that I particularly found compelling. She writes, in the classroom, backlash for unpopular opinions is so commonplace that many students have stopped voicing them, sometimes fearing lower grades if they don't censor themselves. According to a 2021 survey administered by College Pulse of over 37,000 students at 159 colleges, 80% of students self-censor at least some of the time. 48% of undergraduate students describe themselves as somewhat uncomfortable or very uncomfortable expressing their views on controversial topics during classroom discussions. At the University of Virginia, according to the same survey, 57% of those surveyed felt very uncomfortable voicing their opinions in classrooms for fear of retribution. That is unfortunate, startling, concerning, and from my standpoint, the antithesis of the college experience and what higher education is meant for, stands for, or is defined by. I'm going to read a couple more portions of this New York Times article. Judah, this is for you as well. And then we're going to give you our takes and then ask for your takes in the comment section anywhere you're watching the show upon. The author, Miss Sachs, and I'm going to read verbatim from the article. Miss Sachs felt overwhelmed. Excuse me. This is a student, Miss Sachs. Another student felt overwhelmed. She said everyone wanted to be a part of the group with the correct opinion. The experience of voicing my opinion made me not want to go to a class again because my opinion was different than theirs. When I continued to go to class, I participated less frequently. She felt she had become invisible in the classroom because of fear of retribution from voicing her opinion. Other campuses also struggle with this. Viewpoint diversity is no longer considered a sacred core value in higher education. Samuel Adams, a politics professor at Sarah Lawrence College, told the author. Mr. Abrams felt this firsthand. In 2018, after he published an opinion essay in the Times criticizing what he viewed as a lack of ideological diversity among university administrators, his office door was vandalized. Student protesters demanded his tenure be reviewed. While their attempts were unsuccessful, Dr. Abrams remains dissatisfied with fellow faculty members' reactions. In response to the vandalism, only 27 faculty members signed a statement supporting free expression, less than 10% of the college faculty. Now I'm going to go to my take. And Judah, if you want to go on a two-shot, we'll have a conversation, the two of us. There's this cancel culture. This cancel culture that's fueled and fired and frenzied behind a, air quote, woke mentality. And the canceled culture, fueled, fired, and frenzied with this woke mentality, utilizes social platforms like Twitter to galvanize a small portion of the population, not the majority, not even close to half, but a small portion. And as the cancel culture, fueled, fired, and frenzied with this woke mentality, galvanizes a small portion, this small group appears to be the populace, the masses. And they unify strategically, intelligently, with the same talking points and voice. And they pursue agendas and endeavors that are raw, vulnerable, topical, and in the news cycle today. We've seen this approach with a number of dynamic and nuanced topics over the last 2 years alone. One of those, to mask or not to mask. Another one, should parents have the choice of their kids wearing a mask, or should administrators have the choice? Another one, upzoning in jurisdictions, NIMBYism and YIMBYism. Not in my backyard, yes in my backyard. Another one, increasing taxes, asking the middle class and the wealthy to pay more for the advantageous purposes of benefiting lower class or income strapped. Another one, school reconfiguration. Another one, statue removal. Another one, critical race theory. Each of these topics fueled, fired, and frenzied a small portion of jurisdictions and communities across the country, galvanized them through social platforms. And positioned them in manners that made them seem like they were the populace, when in fact they were a small minority. Judah, censorship at the collegiate level, and specifically the University of Virginia level, is terribly concerning for me. You know I went to UVA. We both live in Charlottesville, and whether we want to admit it or not, this is the city of UVA and not the city of Charlottesville. When students on the lawn at UVA, the upper echelon of top producers at the university, the lawn and the range are the best of the best at this school. When they hang signs on their doors questioning, spotlighting, protesting, topics they're passionate about. And then when they see those signs yanked and pulled, destroyed, eradicated by university officials and employees because they don't match the ideology or the agenda the university is championing, in my eyes, that's wrong. Another example of this is what Joe Rogan went through a couple of weeks ago. Joe Rogan, and the man has many flaws. And Judah, I want your take here. Joe Rogan, and the man has many flaws. A small portion of the global or American populace tried to leverage cancel culture to get a publicly traded company to cease, desist, and terminate Joe Rogan's podcast from Spotify. The first attempt was associated with Joe Rogan and his takes and thoughts on COVID mitigation strategies. When that attempt did not work, the second attempt was a montage video clip that was aggregated and then distributed globally of Joe Rogan using the N word, one of the worst words anyone can use, period, bar none. Rogan, undoubtedly wrong to use the N word. Not only is it out of touch, insulting, nauseating, and despicable, but it's undoubtedly poor strategy. And a lack of forward thinking for someone who's a media mogul and lives behind a microphone like this. However, utilizing cancel culture to silence or diminish or eradicate voices and perspectives we don't agree with is not the right approach. Censoring students in classrooms at UVA and making them feel less confident or worse, fearful of bad grades, social stigmas, derogatory comments from peers is the antithesis of what a four-year university, and certainly one as prestigious as the University of Virginia, is all about. If you don't like Joe Rogan, don't listen to Joe Rogan. If you don't like what a student says in women's studies or sociology or anthropology or African American studies or philosophy or psychology, and you're a professor and you penalize that student for having an opinion and a take that they back with sense and a foundation of knowledge, and you penalize them from a grading standpoint, that's wrong. We should learn from this debacle that is Putin, Russia, and Ukraine. We have a soulless dictator that is nothing more than a bully and a warmonger. That's what Putin is. A bully, soulless warmonger who is focused solely on recreating a country in his eyes. His eyes. And his eyes alone. When you start limiting voices and perspectives, the voices and perspectives that you may vehemently disagree with, the voices and perspectives that frankly could piss you off, but you do it through a woke cancel culture mindset or approach or strategy, you eventually are going to create a community of single-minded thinkers, a community that's brainwashed, a community that is not well-rounded, a community fearful of innovation. And that's not what we want. Two-shot, Judah Wickhauer. New York Times, censorship in the classrooms, students fearful to speak their minds for fear of bad grades from professors, social stigmas for students, or social media attacks online from their friends and their peers. anywhere you want to go on this topic.
Well, it's hardly anything new, and it's not really a surprise. I mean, we see it pretty much everywhere these days. You can't really go anywhere, whether it's schools or, social media, without finding people self-censoring because of rabid cancel culture. And I mean, I don't know what you can do about it. I think the further we embed our consciousness into social media, the more we're going to find this happening. It's just when you don't have to worry about confronting someone face to face, it becomes very easy to not treat them like a human being.
I agree with that. This is more than front to front, face to face confrontation. This is discussion. This is classroom group sessions. In these classroom group sessions, students are fearful of voicing their opinions.
Yeah.
For fear that professors will give them bad grades. For fear that they will be attacked by their peers in the work session or stigmatized on grounds at the University of Virginia. This, in a lot of ways, is the absolute antithesis of what Thomas Jefferson did when founding this university. And you want to know a statistic that really, a portion of this story that really had me flummoxed, flabbergasted, and frustrated? I'm going to read the paragraph verbatim, okay? This is from the New York Times article, and then give me your take. This is verbatim. The consequences for saying something outside the norm can be steep. I met Stephen Wysek at our debate club. He's an outgoing, formidable first-year debater who often stays after meetings to help clean up. He's also conservative. At UVA, where only 9% of students surveyed describe themselves as a strong Republican or weak Republican, that puts him in the minority. He told me he has often straight up lied about his beliefs to avoid conflict. Sometimes it's at a party, sometimes it's at a cappella rehearsal, sometimes it's in the classroom. When politics come up, he says, quote, I just kind of go into survival mode. I tense up a lot more because I've got to think very carefully about how I word things. It's very anxiety-inducing, end quote. Judah.
Yeah, you've got to be careful around the nuts, the people that are so rabidly against any countermanding viewpoint that they just want to strike it down. It can be pretty terrifying. It can also be pretty hilarious. I played a game of Cards Against Humanity
over the weekend.
No, this was
recently.
This was a few years ago. Table absolutely filled with. I guess you'd say largely left-leaning, I'd say 20s-ish age people, and I destroyed them. Because all I had to do was save my George Bush and my Cheney cards and anything even slightly conservative. And anytime someone played a bad starting card, like something nasty, I just play my Republican, president or whoever it was, and they would jump all over it. It was.
Explain how the game works in a nutshell.
Well, somebody will play a card that has the beginning, or it'll have a saying, or just a. How would you describe it? Play a card that has
a phrase.
Yeah, a phrase of some sort, and then all the other players have to fill in the blank with a card that they have in their hand, which can be anything from people, places, things, objects, food, whatever. And so you fill in the blank, and then the person that played the initial card gets to decide which one is the best one. And when you're playing against a bunch of liberals, they all want to knock down the conservatives. So it's pretty easy to bait them into choosing your card every time.
Cards Against Humanities is an adult party game in which players complete fill-in-the-blank statements using words or phrases typically deemed offensive, risque, or politically incorrect printed on playing cards.
Yeah.
So he utilized the Republican
I utilized their psychology
surnames
against them.
and names to make opponents in the game look.
I didn't make them look any. They just always picked my cards because I was putting down Republicans. They were easy to game. The problem is, people like that are really, I guess, shallow.
And you're talking in general. You're not just talking left-leaning. You're
No,
talking,
you're
and
right.
there's certainly right-leaning.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
certainly, there's left-leaning, there's right-leaning, there's socialist-leaning, there's capitalist-leaning. You're talking folks leaning so extreme to one side that they're closed-minded to other perspectives.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's nothing new. It's not going to go away anytime soon. And I'm sure that if you polled most rational people that you know, you would find that they are all self-censoring in some form or another when they're around people that aren't close friends.
When did it, and check, make sure we're heading, if you could please, sir, to the LinkedIn platform.
We're not.
Because I don't believe we are. If you could update that for us, please, that would be appreciated.
It's not going to go right now.
When did it become, okay, we'll do it post-production. When did it become, when did we become so fearful to voice political ideology or to vocalize personal habits or to verbalize reasons behind choices, that we've become a species that walks on eggshells when communicating with people that we don't know that well? When and how did it get to that point? Folks are paying, out-of-state students are paying somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000 to attend the University of Virginia. $300,000 to $400,000. And they go into a classroom and they can't say what they believe. In-state students are paying between $150,000 and $200,000. And they take a course or a seminar and they self-censor their opinions and their takes. 57% of those surveyed at UVA felt very uncomfortable or somewhat uncomfortable expressing their views on controversial topics during a classroom discussion, according to the New York Times article that hit hours ago. 57%, Judah.
Yeah, and those are the ones that are smart enough to self-censor.
What does that mean?
That means that you can get drummed out of a class. You can get drummed out of I don't know, they have dorms, right? They've got dorms based on what language you talk or other. I don't know much about. I didn't go to UVA, so I'm sure there are a lot of places, from clubs to even classes, that you can get kicked out of, or maybe a teacher's going to going to destroy your grade for the class if you don't comply. I mean, you almost have to be an idiot to just avidly go around sharing your viewpoint if it isn't the prevailing viewpoint.
Let's get to comments. Gwendolyn Cassidy routinely watches this show and makes the program better. Gwendolyn, I believe you are still in Holland. Let us know if you're still in Holland. We've dubbed her the Queen of Holland. She is a UVA grad and I believe a Harvard University graduate as well. She says this: I lived on the range and not much has changed in the past decade. I think the bylaws dictate what you can tape to doors. I know you cannot utilize or run a business out of the range rooms. Even during reunions weekend, you cannot utilize the UNESCO World Heritage Site for commercial reasons ever. Not all rangers should be granted the honor of living on the range, just like not everyone who graduates medical school should be a doctor. When I graduated, Dean, is it Pianta, Gwendolyn? She says, when I graduated, Dean Pianta handed me my diploma, looked me in the eye and said, now go away. This was one of my greatest moments in grad school, and I know Thomas Jefferson would have been proud because of how I challenged the system and was able to shape my own Jeffersonian graduate experience with taking courses in most schools from Darden to architecture, engineering to environmental sciences. Because I would not fit into the teacher mold they tried to cultivate, 2 years and a whole lot of money and time concluded with those three words spewed from Pianta's mouth. Now go away. And she confirms she's watching the program in Holland. A dean, according to Gwendolyn, telling her to go away when handing her her diploma. DMAC, Daniel McDougall. It's amazing that they have worked for years to achieve diversity in academic admissions only to see it eliminated when students reach campus. Gosh, Daniel, well said. I'm responding to your comment by saying, well said. I will relay this live on air now. Universities of higher education, in general, championing diversity efforts. In some circumstances, prioritizing diversity.
But that's certain types of diversity. It's not diversity of thought.
Undoubtedly, correct. Prioritizing diversity of demographic, but not diversity, as Judah said, of thought. We want diversity and look at our school, but we want homogeneous perspective. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. It's like it's a form of virtue signaling.
It's a form of?
Virtue signaling.
Give everyone the definition of virtue signaling again.
Well, I can look it up. It's basically where it's like bragging, but you're bragging about being diverse or open-minded or whatever it is.
Georgia Gilmer, have you checked out UVA's Common Grounds project that was done last year, Jerry? I responded, I have not. Please tell me more, Georgia Gilmer.
So here's the short definition. The action or practice of publicly expressing opinions or sentiments intended to demonstrate one's good character or the moral correctness of one's position on a particular issue. And you usually find it in people who are like shouting that their way is the most diverse, or look what we're doing to. It's not actually about doing anything actively or proactively. It's about showing off. It's about pointing at yourself and getting everyone to look at you.
This show is live on 15 Facebook pages, 15 Twitter accounts, and every social media platform known to mankind. Kevin Higgins, who's the king of Greenwood, responding and having the back of Gail Cassidy, the Queen of Holland. Kevin Higgins says this: "Go away, that's effing disgusting. Keep using that as fuel to live your best life, Gwendolyn Gail Cassidy." Thank you, Kevin, for having the Queen of Holland's back right there. We appreciate you participating in today's program and all your participation that you do. As we head to the next topic, I want to highlight a couple things. Last week, we explained to you that the honor system is changing. The honor system now, and this was approved, is no longer a single sanction honor system. You lie, you cheat, you steal, you're expelled for UVA. That's how it was when I was in school there. That's how it was last month. A referendum, which was approved, is now a new sanction system. If you lie, you cheat, you steal, and you're found guilty, you take 2 semesters off, and then you return to the university with a fresh start, a fresh plate, and a fresh horizon. It's no longer lie, cheat, and steal, peace out. This change, upon personal reflection, I embrace, because I think it may actually improve honor at the university, because stewards of the honor code will be more likely to report violations, knowing the culprit will have a second chance at school as opposed to expulsion. That second chance, I think, will make the honor code even stronger at UVA. I'm not opposed to change. And I understand even sacred documents like the Constitution need to evolve, need to consider today's times versus times they were written in. But one thing I'm vehemently opposed to is silencing perspectives and voices that someone disagrees with. There's a number of people that I follow on social media that I am left scratching my head saying, this person's perspective is absurd. Tax, 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 and tax some more is their perspective. For fear, with no fear of retribution or collateral damage or down the road impact. Tax them now, tax them more, raise the meals tax, raise the lodging tax, raise the real estate tax rate, raise it. Do it now. And if you don't, shame on you. You entitled, you know what. That's the perspective. And while that perspective angers and frustrates and irritates the HE double hockey sticks out of me, it's a perspective I want out there because it challenges my thought and it offers ideas of what the other side and people that are different than me that are thinking. And that's how we become deeper in thought. And that's how we become more open-minded, more diverse, more intelligent with our thinking. Daniel McDougall says, virtue signaling, Judah. 100% mask wearing while at Whole Foods. Daniel McDougal, DMAC. DMAC, that's your moniker. You make this program better, Daniel. Seriously, dude. You're a smart dude. I love that you've become a new addition to the family here on the I Love CVille Network. All you guys are family. Thank you for watching and participating. Enter, publish. All right, next topic. I have been on this topic for all of 2022, and it's the Burley School reconfiguration. The Daily Progress on Sunday and on Monday published a two-part series that is a must-read on Burley School reconfiguration. I am all for closing the educational gap, an educational gap that has widened due to COVID. And I'm going to cut to the chase and be frank. Wealthy families during the pandemic were learning, their children were learning in ways and in fashions that were pretty much normal. Families that did not have economical means, single-family households, single-parent households, or two-parent households, one of them may be out of work, two of them may be out of work, families that didn't have economical means. Their kids learned in fashions and formats that were a shadow of their former selves. And as a result, wealthy kids have far surpassed children whose parents do not have deep resources and academic key performance indicators. Those are facts that I just said. COVID put tailwinds behind that statement and magnified the educational gap, widened it even more. I am all for narrowing that gap. I say that time in and time again on this program. But narrowing the economic gap through increased taxes associated with real estate will never, ever serve the families we are trying to resource and champion today. If you go to poor families and say, you homeowner or you renter, we're going to raise taxes in this community, you're going to move. And the efforts we're trying to do with those tax dollars will never benefit you because you won't afford to live here. And people are going to say, oh, Jerry, a renter is not paying real estate taxes. Bull. That is bull. I am a landlord, 24 tenants, 23 are commercial, one of them is residential. Our clients for our advertising agency, VMV Brands, many landlords as well. And I'm going to cut to the chase. The tenants end up paying the taxes. The tenants pay the taxes. They pay the taxes by rents increasing every year. And I'm about to relay to you how much rents are increasing. Neil Williamson, the king of content, the president of the Free Enterprise Forum, just shared this. As rents have increased sharply in Charlottesville, a few large cities nationwide have seen rents grow more modestly. Charlottesville is still more affordable than most large cities across the country. Renters will find more reasonable prices in Charlottesville than most large cities. For example, San Francisco has a median two-bedroom rent of $2,711, which is more than 1.5 times the price in Charlottesville. That's comparing Charlottesville to San Francisco. Rents in the city of Charlottesville. This article on NBC29.com, quoting Neil Williamson and Justin West from the Blue Ridge Apartment Council. Here's the most important paragraph in the article. Apartmentlist.com highlights that rents in Charlottesville have increased 1.1% over the past month, the past 30-day period, when a tenant, their lease expires at a rental property in Charlottesville, Albemarle County, Central Virginia, the landlord will go in. I'm doing this now at the villas at Southern Ridge. The landlord will go in, they'll paint the walls, they'll clean the carpets, and then they put the home, the condo, the apartment, the single-family detached house back in a marketable way for someone to find and see. The home is never, ever, 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 ever listed at a price that is lower than what the tenant who just moved out paid. In fact, in most circumstances, and I do not do this, but many do, in most circumstances, the rental uptick 5, 10% plus. Tenants pay the rents. Tenants pay the taxes. And when you raise the taxes, and someone needs to pass this along to the socialist community in Charlottesville, when you raise the taxes in the municipality, the most impoverished, cash-strapped people feel the brunt of it. Charlottesville City Council, with this $75 million school reconfiguration, and if anyone believes this thing is going to cost $75 million if it's picked, they are huffing glue out of a Ziploc sandwich bag. Gasoline, in a 3-day period of time, went from what, Judah? 2-shot. Low 3s to over 4. I drove by the Liberty in eastern Albemarle County, and it was $4.29 this morning.
Yeah, I drove by BP after church yesterday, and I almost did a double take. I was like, it's already above $4. I think it was like $4.09.
$4.29 for me this morning.
Yeah, that's insane. I can't imagine anyone having to trek into Charlottesville for work is not terrified about this going even higher. And for the rest of us, it's still not, it's still pretty scary. I mean, it was
low 3s 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane.
Gas is going up $1 a gallon in 2 weeks. And you know what? Where's it going to go?
Up.
It ain't going to go lower right now.
Not anytime soon, I would think.
You basically got a portion of the population, and help me understand, okay, Judah? Please help me understand. You got a community that got slapped with real estate assessments increasing 12% on average year over year. 12%. 11.69% to be exact. Mm-hmm. And over 20% increase in 10th and Page, historically black neighborhood, and over 20% increase in Prospect, Orangedale, a historically black neighborhood. You got inflation now heading north of 8%. You got gasoline gonna flirt with $5 a gallon this week. Next week, if this Ukraine-Russia debacle does not resolve, which it doesn't look like it's going to resolve, God knows how high it's going to go. My in-laws on Long Island, $6 a gallon gas is the norm. California, do you know what your sisters are paying?
I don't know what they're paying right now, but
Trisha and Mandy, are you watching? What are you paying in Cali, Trisha and Mandy? Can you text them and ask them what gas is in Cali? Or just, I guess Google is our friend.
Yeah.
Price per gallon gas, California. San Francisco, what are you seeing?
Let's see.
I'm seeing $5.70.
Gas prices hit nearly $7 in parts of Southern California.
$7 a gallon?
Nearly $7 in parts of Southern. This is from 15 hours ago, Fox 11 Los Angeles on YouTube.
Okay, so I want everyone to understand this.
But average California gas price is now over $5.
Parts of Southern California are $7 a gallon. How can anyone afford to live in Southern California right now?
On Monday, this is from 35 minutes ago, on Monday, gas stations near LA's Chinatown had a gallon of regular gasoline selling for $6.50. Californians are used to that. No.
I want everyone to.
It's not like they were also at the the same price that we were at a week or two ago. So it's not like they've doubled or tripled their price.
I want everyone to understand this. Gwendolyn Gail Cassidy in Holland. In the span of 5 months, I have raised the rent on my 2-bedroom condo rental from $1,400 to $1,600 a month for traveling nurses. I'm not embarrassed as a financially challenged person. I can do more good with the small additional income than pricing my home below fair market value. Thank you, Queen of Holland. Let's cut to the chase here, okay? This month, City Council has to determine whether or not they're going to move forward with school reconfiguration in a number of different iterations. And the Daily Progress had a really good explanation of what reconfiguration is. I'm going to read this to you. Catherine Knott, the author behind this, and Ginny Bixby, the author behind the Monday piece, Catherine, the author behind the Sunday piece, they did a hell of a job with this story. You guys did great work, Catherine and Ginny. This is reconfiguration defined, Judah, as it applies to Buford and Walker Upper Elementary, okay? Reconfiguration refers to a multi-pronged project that has been a goal of the Charlottesville School Board since 2009. Currently, 5th and 6th graders attend Walker Upper Elementary School, and 7th and 8th graders go to Buford Middle School. Under the project, 5th grade would go back to the division's 6 elementary schools. 6th grade would move to Buford, and then preschool would be centralized at the Walker campus. In phase 1, Buford would be renovated and expanded to make room for 6th grade and future enrollment growth. In phase 2, Walker would be turned into a temporary preschool center. In phase 2, $23 million early childhood center would be built at Walker. So here's what it is in a nutshell. Walker Upper Elementary School has 5th and 6th graders. With this reconfiguration plan, the 5th graders would leave Walker and they go back to elementary schools all over the city. The 6th graders would leave Walker and they'd go to Buford. Then Walker would go from an upper elementary school to a early childhood center. Kids before they get to school, kindergarten. Reconfiguring Buford, $75 million plus to add the 6th grade there and to get the school ready for future enrollment that's coming down the pipeline. Another $25 million earmarked or projected to make Walker not an elementary school anymore, but an early childhood center. What do we all think is going to be the impact for construction projects and remodeling projects when gasoline gets $5, $6 a gallon? Do we think the cost of goods that are being budgeted today at $75 million for one school and $25 million for the other will stay the same? Do we think the folks that are doing the work, the contractors, will not say, hey, yes, in March of 2022, you said the project was going to run $75 million, but guess what? Those big trucks that take the lumber, those big trucks that take the toilets, those big trucks that take the sinks and the chalkboards and the desks and the tiles and the drywall and the bricks, it's costing a lot more to fuel them. We need more money from you because we're not going to take a loss on these projects. I'm going to put this in perspective. Here's a Twitter thread posted by friend of the program, John Blair, now the city attorney in Stanton. He posted this on Twitter himself, so I'm not hesitant to reference his thread or utilize his name. I value his perspective, and I find him to be very intelligent in thought and a very common sense, reasonable guy. The loss of John Blair for the Charlottesville City jurisdiction is one that will be felt for generations to come. The guy is phenomenal. He was the former city attorney at Charlottesville, now the city attorney of Stanton. Here's his thread. The pandemic has definitely inflated construction costs, and CVille construction capacity has to be close to zero. Stanton did a much more extensive high school renovation in 2020-2021 for $43 million. $43 million in 2020-2021. Harrisonburg is building a completely new high school for $119 million, which included $5 million to acquire the land. He's giving us comps. You could have done a reconfiguration in Stanton at the beginning of the pandemic that was way more extensive than Beaufort for $43 million. You could have built a whole freaking new high school in Harrisonburg for $119 million with $5 million allocated to the land before the pandemic. COVID and this pandemic have changed economics and calculus and ecosystems. And one of the ways that's changed remodeling and reconstruction is it's made everything more expensive. And we still haven't seen the collateral damage of shutting down a Russian supply of oil to this country. Doing a massive reconfiguration project that would freeze the capital improvement efforts and budget of the city of Charlottesville for a decade, while we're coming out of COVID, while gasoline prices are higher than they've ever been in American history, while a Russian-Ukraine war is going on, while real estate assessments have upticked 12% year over year, while inflation is upticking nearly 8%, doing this project will be the damning death of fixed income households and first-time home buyers and tenants living on the financial margin within the city of Charlottesville. But the tax small portion of the community that is galvanized behind a cancel culture woke mentality has pushed the agenda forward. Utilizing the similar tactics seen on grounds at colleges and in UVA. Censorship, fear, retribution, stigmas. It takes someone or a group of people with thick skin and courage and fortitude and forward thinking to withstand the woke cancel culture barrage in the short term, because he or she or me realize the long-term impact of what we're trying to pursue is what's best for the community. Taxes are regressive in nature, not progressive. And if you're going to have to implement taxes, do it from an incremental source, a new stream of tax revenue, not old ones that you just pile upon. That is called common sense politics. All right, I'm going to close. And if you got anything you got to offer, put it in the feed. If you disagree with me, if you agree with me, put it in the feed. Kevin Higgin's, the king of Greenwood. Gas prices are going to have a huge impact on produce from big farm suppliers. Spring crops are being planted right now, and I cannot conceive how they make a profit given the shortage of truck drivers, cost of fuel, shelf life, and other rising dedicated costs consumers already have. Amen. He's right. All right, I'm going to relay something that I found truly enjoyable, that I think you guys will enjoy as well. On Sunday, my wife and our son, we went to Davenport Field to watch the University of Virginia play Penn State. UVA won in dominating fashion. Brian O'Connor's he's the head coach of UVA. He's got one of the best baseball teams in the country. Remember, he's a 2015 national champion, Brian O'Connor. This team is high scoring. They play with, they're out there having fun. They got a baseball stadium in Davenport Field that is one of the best stadiums in the country. Literally one of the best stadiums in the country from a baseball standpoint. Sunday was one of the highest attendance. In fact, I'll give you the exact quote. Let's see if I can find it. Sunday's game, from an attendance standpoint, I believe was the most amount of attendance, the highest amount of attendance since, let me give it to you exactly. 2016, I want to say. I saw it on the scoreboard. All right, I'll find that stat and give it to you another time. It was one of the highest attended games in years, Sunday's game that we were at. And while it was so well attended, it never felt crowded. It never felt crowded. While it was so well attended, kids were free to run around and laugh and chase each other. There was two bounce houses at the entrance that kids enjoyed before getting into the stadium. I had a couple of beers. I got 2 beers, 2 waters, a box of popcorn, and a box of Sour Patch Kids for my boy. And I think altogether it was less than $30 for all that. And the beers were 16 ounces. The 16 ounces aren't the tall boys. Those are the 24 ounces. I think 16 ounces are called pounders, right? A 16 ouncer is a pounder, isn't it? Because the 24 ouncer is the tall boy.
I didn't know that there was an official title for 16-ounce beers.
24 OZ is the tall boy. 16 OZ is the pounder. 2 beers, popcorn, 2 waters, and and a box of delicious Sour Patch Kids.
Tall boy is 16.
Tall boy's 24.
Okay.
Tall boy's 24. 16's the pounder. Tall boy's 24. Guys, it was freaking awesome. Son had a good time. They won. You're talking about one of the best tickets in town. The Cavaliers are 11-0 overall for the 4th time in school history. All 4 11-0 starts, 2008, 2009, 2013, and 2022, have come under Brian O'Connor's regime. Get out there and support a team and go to a field in a stadium that is one of the best in the country. 4,459 fans attended the game on Sunday. UVA has scored 10 or more runs in 8 straight games. That is a UVA baseball record. We have a bounty of amenities and experiences and things to do in this region and community. And we all know it, and that's why we live here. And everyone else is starting to find it out. And that's why people are sprinting here to live here as well. Another indication, this baseball team, of why this region, Charlottesville and Central Virginia, is insulated from national and macro economic trends. When you got Bennett's boys, Tony Bennett, and you got Brian O'Connor, and you got Corin Capshaw with live music, and you got the downtown mall, and you got all these restaurants and all these breweries and all these wineries. Dude, we are blessed to live here. Blessed. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'm Jerry Miller for Judah Wickower. This is the I Love CVille Show. We're back tomorrow on this very network. You guys take care.